Hey, y'all, it's Lindsay and Kelsey, your favorites. We're here to entertain you, help you live your best life, empower you, inform you. And today we actually have no idea what to talk about. So we're just going to let it flow and see what happens. Usually we have a list of content to go off of or topics that are inspiring to us, but for some reason we're just kind of stuck in a rut today. So, with that being said, to prevent this from happening in the future, if you're listening anywhere, send us a DM of topics you want us to cover, questions you have, shows you want us to make. You can message us on Instagram. I'm just Kelsey Aida. Lindsay is Lindsay Robinson. You guys can see how our names are spelled like on the podcast. And yeah, or if you're on the Patreon, you can comment on the videos, like different stuff you guys want to see. But I don't know, we just been talking and we were like, well, we're not super excited to talk about this or that or this. And so here we are, just showing up, being consistent, doing our thing.
We are here for you. This might be a crap show, but you know what? We're here. We're here and we're doing the damn thing.
It's going to be great. Even if we talk about weird or boring stuff, I think it'll be great. Great.
And I said to Kelsey before we hit record, usually this has happened maybe once or twice before. And it's usually because one of us is just freaking over it at the moment. And we just don't even wanna, like we're just not inspired and all these things. And we're going through something. And that ends up being what we talk about. But today, like, we're fine. We're good. We're high vibe. We don't
feel uninspired or over it. We're just like, we can't decide
what is it? What is it? What do we do?
Well, here's what I wanted to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about it and then we'll see what flows from there. So I wanted to talk/complain about how lack mentality is ruining everything, because I feel like a lot of problems on an individual and societal scale right now are stemming from a lack mentality, this delusion that there's not enough to go around, that if someone else has more, that means that I have less, and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like this is really showing up like in the power plays that certain governments are taking, like not even just American government, like a lot of governments are taking advantage of this COVID crisis and, telling everyone to wear masks when they're not wearing masks, their fancy parties and get-togethers, and making all these mandates when they're not even following the rules. And it's just all these big power plays and power grabs that I'm so sick of. And it all stems from a lack mentality, because if you feel like you have to take power away from others in order to make your power more, then that means that there's like this finite amount of power, which is not how it works at all. And to feel threatened by someone else's power is to believe that if they have more power, then I have less power, which is also not true, which also stems from a lack mentality, which I'm finding to be quite annoying because it's affecting a lot of people negatively, the people who are living according to this disempowered belief.
Word. I think that they know obviously they know exactly what they're doing. And no matter where you fall in the political arena, I think regardless of that, I think humanity in general can agree that too much power on one side is dangerous and volatile. And any lack mentality that we have, a good majority of it can come from the society that you live in. You need this, you need that. Look to us, look outside of yourself. And
there's not enough.
And we have each human, what me and Kelsey try to do on this show is teach you that all you need to do is, remember these ancient truths that there's no limit. There's no limit. There's no finite space at the top. We can all win. We can all win. And in fact, when you look to do that instead of how can I get ahead? How can I do this? How can I take away from someone else so that I feel better? When you're in that mode, it's actually doing so much more harm than good. And I think anybody listening to this can probably, I'm not saying anything new. What I am saying is the source of any kind of lack mentality, I think it comes from these limiting beliefs that we've learned as a functioning member of society, especially women.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not even just about government or politics, which honestly,
Right.
I kind of hate talking about it. I just wanted to complain about it a little bit. But if we want to talk about lack mentality in general, where it shows up for a lot of people is in their finances, right? So people are feeling like there's never enough money. They don't have enough money. They're penny pinching. They're giving bad tips. They are not being generous. They are not believing that their wealth will be replenished. They are, you know, it's a restrictive energy to live your life like that, which is actually very tiring. And if you look at the truth of money, they're literally creating more and more like every second. And even if they weren't, which I wish they wouldn't because it's devaluing the dollar, even if they weren't doing that, money is literally just like zeros on a spreadsheet, and only a certain amount, like a fourth of it or something, actually exists in dollars because it's not tied to gold anymore. So it's like money is literally just numbers on a screen.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about it like that. There's no limit to how many numbers you can put on the screen and how many zeros you can add to the end of your bank account.
I mean, think about it. I have a number in my bank account, but I'm never going to see a physical paper dollar because I just don't carry cash. Doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's going to be, you know, I don't want to even talk about it being taken away because the whole banking crisis freaks me out so bad I can't even breathe. But
buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
You know what? Bitcoin. Somehow I knew Bitcoin would slither its way into this conversation.
It's the answer to so many problems.
But yeah, I'm never going to see the physical representation of my money, and most of us won't, because it's digital. It's all digital and it's all energy, and that's all it ever was anyway. We assigned this physical thing to it. So, you know, I do this a lot. I honestly do this a lot with clients. I just did one on Friday, which is just understanding your relationship with money and how you view it. And there are 3 major questions that I ask, or that rather the client asks money when we're in the hypnosis. You know, we have a conversation with it. Number 1 is, money, how do I treat you? And everybody can answer this question. Just close your eyes, think of the first thing that comes to you. Money, how do I treat you? That's first. Second, money, how can I have more of you? And just notice what comes. You know, we talk a lot about intuition. It's usually the first thing that pops into your head and you just try to rationalize it away. But how can I have more of you? And then the third thing is just, is there anything else I need to know? And usually they'll come out of the hypnosis and they'll say, but you can do this consciously, but they'll say, you know, money just feels really misunderstood. Money just I feel like money thinks I'm afraid of it and it's unsure whether I want it in my life. And it's kind of it's a little skittish around me because it doesn't feel safe with me. You know, it's different for everybody, but those are the main themes. You know, we think of money as most people think of money as like a unattainable, higher level than they could ever achieve. You know, the amount of money they want is always beyond their reach. But the one thing that seems to come through with all of my clients is that that's a myth. That's not true. And money really wants to be in my life. I just need to welcome it. I need to allow it, you know, to be, and be grateful for it all, even the money going out. So I know you mentioned, you know, people think that their money isn't going to be returned to them. And I think you do this too. I know you do something like this, but one of my favorite things to do when I'm paying bills is just thank you for another month of my phone. Thank you for another month of food in my fridge, or, you know, whatever it might be, and focus on what you're getting versus what you feel like you're losing. And It will always come back. It will always come. There will always be more money. That is 100% true all of the time.
Because it's energy, it's moving, it's circulating, it's like alive in that sense, you know? And to prove your point further, like the more you, I guess, like the more you become a channel for abundance, the easier and faster it gets replenished.
Yeah.
And you can see this easily with like making money. It's usually hardest in the beginning. And then once you make a certain amount, you can use that money to make more money, and use that money to make more money, and use that money to make more money. And then it grows exponentially because that's abundance at work, right? It's like a tree, like the seed might take a little while to sprout and it might take a while to get tall, but then all of a sudden it's like this giant thing and it grows way faster than it did before.
Right.
And that's just natural.
One of my favorite things, Kelsey, that you said, and I kind of always stick this saying onto you, even though I know a lot of people say it, but you, in the beginning of us working together, like actually having this project together, would say a lot. Growth exponential. It will be exponential growth. It will grow exponentially. And I never really like put my focus on that ever. But you said it so many times, and I know like you probably don't even know how often you said it, but it always stuck with me. And I always just felt so good to hear you say it'll just grow exponentially, because we forget that. And you just focus on like how hard it's going to feel, but you don't know that it's like a snowball effect if you let it be. And I think simply by you saying it as many times as you did, and honestly, it was probably like 4 or 5 times. I'm thinking it's like 20, but it stuck with me in the same way where it's like, yeah, just picture the snowball effect and it feels so much easier, you know?
Well, it's like there's a lot of examples of this in nature, like the caterpillar to the butterfly. Like it's probably not that fun and it's hard and it takes a while to make that transition. But once you're a butterfly, like you can fly.
Girl, they turn into goop inside that cocoon. Did you know that?
That's disgusting.
They turn into actual liquid. Ew. And then they rebuild themselves from like a cellular level.
That's hardcore.
It's hardcore. It is. I think they're aliens.
They are aliens. I believe that too. Every time I say a butterfly, I'm like, alien, definitely.
Yeah,
aliens.
It's weird. It's so weird. There's nothing else like it in nature. Like it's insane.
But another analogy that also has to do with flying, ironically, is the airplane. Like it takes the most amount of fuel for the airplane to get off the ground. And you know, when you feel that resistance when you're going up and you're like, and it feels like it's pushing on you and you're going up into the sky. But then once you get up to a certain degree, you're just cruising. And then you can just keep going higher and higher. And it's like, that's how life is. That's how money is. So don't let the lack get to you. Like you can have lack thoughts. That's normal, but notice them and question them. And if you question them, you'll usually find that they're not true. And you'll be like, oh, that's just my old story. That's just what my parents taught me. That's just what society has programmed me to believe. Like that doesn't have to be my truth just because it's how I feel. You know, feelings are different from truth. And it's okay to recognize that and have compassion for the parts of you that are stuck in lack. But it doesn't mean you have to live those out and take action on them. Very different.
The key, I think, is this is true for everybody listening. You have a bar that you've set for the amount of money that you're taking in. That's your normal, your level of normal. If you go outside of that, let's say below that number, you start to freak out a little bit. Oh my gosh, this is lower than I'm used to. This is lower than I usually get. What do I do? If you go outside of that, above the bar, you say, oh my gosh, I've never done this before. What's going to happen? You know, it's kind of a different kind of freak out. But if you can recognize that stepping above that normal that you've set for yourself is or can be your new normal, then it will feel like your new normal. When I know whenever I up level in my business, I have a little chat with myself like, okay, this is my new normal. This is my new normal. And saying that feels normal. And it allows me to settle down a little bit and accept that what's happening is good, because consciously we know it's good, but our subconscious, of course, doesn't know. It doesn't know good unknowns. It only knows scary unknowns. So if you can teach it, okay, this is my new normal. This is fine. This is safe, whatever. And then the next level you hit, hey, guess what? A new normal. And it's just a beautiful way to kind of allow yourself to expand in a more comfortable way without, because if you win the lottery, we talk about this a few times. If we win the lottery, but you're not used to that number, you will lose that money and be right back to where you started. Like people have this really beautiful way of finding a way to get back to their original, what they will allow in their lives. And if you go beyond that too far, too fast, if you go beyond that too fast or too much, you're gonna adjust it to fit what you think is normal. So if you can just allow yourself to know or decide, what your new normal is, it's a lot easier.
Yeah,
And it takes practice, but
it's true. Embracing your new normal. Like when I was a teenager, my normal was making hundreds of dollars a month, right, at my little job, or when I was assisting doing hair or whatever. And then it was like the new normal is making a couple thousand. And then the new normal is making, 5 figures in a month. And then the new normal is whatever. And it's like, you have to just almost like keep adding zeros and just like be like, this is the new normal. This is the new normal. This is my new normal. And then you just keep embracing and like up leveling. At least like that's been something that's been fun and helpful for me, or I've noticed that I've been doing over the years.
Thank you, universe, for my new normal.
Heck yeah.
And
then it's like, at least for me, it was a whole nother thing too when I manifested my partner, because he comes with his own money and his own wealth. And now we're about to be married. So basically I just doubled like my finances from being in love.
What do you mean you're about to get married? Did you miss telling me some big piece of news, or is this just like you're on the tracks?
Yeah, I mean, we're planning on it and stuff. Just,
Goodness, you better not forget to call me, I swear. You either have to call me, and tell me, or you have to announce it on the show.
All right, I'll announce it. So I have something sparkly right here.
Oh my gosh.
But so basically lack mentality is the enemy and money is everywhere. And something that helps me too is I always imagine like really, really, really rich people like Elon Musk or something, like looking at their bank account and that's like their normal. Like to them, like however many billions of dollars is like you having like $3,000. Like it's normal to them. And I'm like, literally how I feel now, I'm going to feel the same once I have like 20 times more. It's just a number much of what we talk on a screen. And it's crazy how much it can affect our emotional well-being because we're so like about it.
So much of what we talk about is just reminding you that you have a stake in the game and you have every ability to make that choice. Like we feel so much of our lives is out of our control when it's so the opposite. And I trust me, I get how hard it is to feel in control when all this ish is happening around you. I know, especially when you're in the thick of some really hard stuff, especially now. But they say you can't necessarily control what happens around you, but you can control your reaction to it. You can control, like, find what you can control and cling to that. I can control how I regulate myself. I can control what's possible for me. Even if you're in a shit situation right now, what would be possible for you if you knew you'd be supported, if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you want to do? And sometimes simply just answering that question will expand you so much out of, transitioning out of lack mentality into that more expansive, like abundant universe, which is really what we're all living in. The lack is an illusion. Like that's the illusion for sure.
And let's say maybe in 3D real life terms, it's actually not possible. How can you make it possible? Like, let's say you live in a country where like what you want to do is not legal, or you can't do it there, or there's no opportunity. Like, how can you get out? How can you move yourself? How can you reinvent yourself? How can you change your life? You have to ask the hard, maybe sticky, uncomfortable questions. But as the saying goes, if there's a will, there's probably a way.
Oh, yes. If there's a will, there's a way. You just might not know what it is yet, or it just might not be the right time necessarily. But if you can, even just for today or the moment, open to the fact that there is a way, I just haven't figured it out yet. Like that is that's even an empowering stance to be in. There's always a way. I just haven't figured it out, but I will. Yet. I haven't figured it out yet. The power of yet.
Yeah, that's a powerful word. It's nice to add that in sometimes. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm not feeling better yet. I don't know why this happened to me yet. There's so many contexts where that one three-letter word can just soothe the soul and help alleviate some anxiety.
Yeah. I haven't figured it out yet. Last night I had a dream that I wanted a lake house. And in my dream, I was like, do I want a lake house or do I want a cottage in Scotland? Do I want both? Can I do both? In my dream life, I'm like second guessing myself and like questioning it. But then I woke up this morning, and for those of you that are listening to this when it airs, obviously, today, as we're recording, is the full moon. And when I was reading about this particular full moon, it specifically says, pay attention to your dreams and do not limit yourself. And I was like, oh, well, hey, I might have a lake house and a cottage, or a cottage on a lake.
Hey.
That would be like 2 into 1.
Yes.
So I think that's very important to just, pay attention to what is possible, what could be possible in your wildest dreams, because where there's a will, there's a way.
This is reminding me of this new shopping practice that I've been doing to feel more abundant and to just like act on the energy of abundance. And that's like when I'm shopping and I want something, I used to be like, do I want to get this or do I want to get this? Because I'm only going to allow myself to get one. But now it's like, well, if I can afford both of the ones I want, I'm going to get this and I'm going to get this because we live in abundance, baby. And then I just buy everything that I want.
Yeah.
And then I feel like a baller. And it's not that I'm going broke doing this. It's obviously I have the money to do it. So it feels good. But it's like, why choose one when you could have both? Or why decide between these 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different things when you could have it all? Like, what if you actually could just have them all? And I'm not just saying in a shopping context, but that's just like a simple daily life example of how to apply it. But what if you could have it all?
And I don't want to speak for anyone, but I will say in my own personal experience, when I started allowing myself to, I don't know if you want to call it splurge or really just buy things, buy
anything at all.
There are still things in my head that like I'll look at and be like, I don't know about this. I was just talking about this with my husband, but the second that I started kind of opening myself to allowing myself to buy things or to I really like this. Why don't I just get it? It'll make me happy. Why don't I just get it? That's when my abundance really started to flow in. And again, I'm not trying to tell everybody to splurge and just go on shopping sprees. But what I am saying is when you are able to honor yourself and make yourself feel joy and feel abundant, the universe responds to that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when I started to do that for myself, or for my kids or for my husband, when I started to really give money a job and bring us joy, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. When that started to happen, the money it just kept flowing. It was like, it was a conduit, which is what we're supposed to be, for money. We're supposed to let it flow in and flow out nice and gracefully, and know that we're always going to get it back.
Yes.
And I just don't think that's a coincidence. And to go off what you said, like, yeah, that's exactly what my experience was when I was, and it took me a minute because I went a long time where me and Abel, my husband, lived in LA, and we were like, how are we going to pay the rent? And he was the only one making money, and we had 2 kids, and it was just crazy. To tell you how different our life is now would be like, I would not believe it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's also kind of when I started giving myself permission to enjoy the abundance that's coming to me,
Yes, I like this practice. And I will say, just don't misinterpret what we're saying as like, even if you have no money to manifest more money, spend everything that you have. Because I feel like there are teachers out there who are like, indulge, splurge. And then you're like, okay, well, I only have $200, but I'm going to buy this $300 coat that I really like, put it on Afterpay. And then you're just digging yourself into a bigger hole for later. And then you're just feeling less and less abundant because you're getting more and more in debt. Because I've seen people spiral into this trying to manifest more money by spending money they don't have. So don't spend money you don't have. That's totally not what we're saying. But if you can, live more in abundance where and when you can.
Even if it's just something small, go to the dollar store and pick out a cute little trinket that has no purpose. You just like it. You're not losing much and you're gaining a lot, and you're giving money a job. Money loves to have a job. It loves to have somewhere to go. And when it knows that you're going to be giving it jobs, it will come to you. Give me a job. I want a job. So I think it's a great reminder. There's always something. I love the dollar store. And I have also been in the situation where I physically did not feel like I could spend an extra penny, where I was counting the change in my budget because A, I'm a control freak, and B, I wanted to make sure how much I had because it was that important. I also know how to move beyond that. So even if it's just something small, there's a way to honor yourself and feel abundant without losing yourself and losing everything you have in this idea of manifesting money.
Yeah. It's been a fun money manifestation practice that I've been doing, and this is literally like just taking it back to the basics.
I have a couple of these.
There's this guided meditation by Teal Swan, and I can't remember the exact name, but if you go to like tealswan.shop or whatever, it's like one of the ones on our shop, and it's just like a money manifesting meditation. And basically in the meditation, she has you breathe for 10 minutes just to open your being and relax and release resistance. And then after that, you imagine money, however it looks to you, like coming at you from all directions, like closer to your body every time you inhale. And then as you exhale, it just stays there. And then you inhale and more comes in closer. And then you exhale and then it stays there. And then you inhale and eventually you start bringing it into your body, into your being. And then eventually once your body gets so full of money, you start delegating it to these different areas, things you want to invest in, things you want to buy with it, people you want to give it to, blah, blah, blah. So you're just practicing calling money in and being that conduit and channel for the energy. And honestly, I just did that for like 4 days straight once. And then I manifested so much money in that week. And my boyfriend, I say that I manifested his new car for him because his dad was like, hey, you want this brand new Lexus I don't want anymore because I'm getting a new car? So then we got a new car. And also I manifested like all these new clients. I was super busy at the salon. My publisher offered me like this book deal, like everything happened after like 4 days of just doing that for 20 minutes a day. So like an hour of that. And I was just like, whoa, the basics of manifesting, they really work.
Yeah. I mean, I have 3 or 4 money manifesting hypnosis on my membership. I just think that it's so important for you to feel comfortable changing your energy with money, because money just wants to be with you. And there was something else I was going to say about that. Money loves a job. So it's interesting that we're talking about this today, because over the weekend, I think on Friday, I was doing like a quarterly budget estimate for what I hope to sell in the coming year of 2022. And it has you list out, all your programs, all your, if you see clients, do put a space for that. I put in the podcast stuff, and I basically delegated how much I intend to sell and all these things. And like over the weekend, I did this Friday. Over the weekend, I got so much money coming in from places I was like not expecting, but most of it was from these programs and offers that I listed out in this budget, in this quarterly like estimate. So money loves a job. And you said, in that meditation, you start delegating where the money's going to go. Like that's what I'm saying, man. It just wants somewhere to go. And if I think that spending frivolously could and possibly is just as dangerous as hoarding all of your money as well. Because we're not really designed to be containers for money, right? I'm not saying don't have a savings account. Please do. I do. Kelsey does. We all do. Let's do it, please. But don't be afraid to spend it either, because I think it can go really unproductive either way.
Yeah. Well, I'm always thinking of the ROI, and that could be
return on investment for those monetary.
Yeah. So I could be essentially, in theory, buying more money with my money if I'm making good investments, or I could be, investing in my happiness for this next 5 minutes by splurging $7 on this ice cream that's obviously not worth $7, but it actually is worth $7 because it's so good and it makes me so happy. So it's like, what's the return going to be?
Yeah.
Is it going to be, like we've been going to acupuncture a bunch lately, and that has a huge rate of return because it's taking away pain, it's helping manage emotions. Like there's just so many benefits. So really, like, what's the value that you're getting back in return? And thinking about that can help you feel really good about where you're putting your money and where you're spending it.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's so good. It's so good. I don't know how it turned into a money podcast, but I
guess that's just what the people wanted.
That's what we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
I kind of got on my spirit guides before this episode. Like, give me something here.
Improving our relationships with money, which, it's a big part of our daily lives, whether we want it to be or not. Hey there. We hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but if you want to listen to the whole thing, we're going to invite you over to our podcast. Either search for High Vibin It on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, or even better, if you want to watch the extended video version of this episode that's even longer than the actual podcast itself, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/highvibe. Lindsay, tell them what's awesome about the Patreon.
Patreon is where we have all of our extended episodes. As Kelsey said, we have it on video, so you can actually see the things that we're talking about. Sometimes we have visual aids, and it's nice to know what we're talking about. We also have hangouts that we do sometimes that are exclusive to Patreon people. And you can get started with all of this and bonus content and everything that we have only for the Patreon people for as little as $3. I think it's $3.33 a month. And that's it. And you guys can get all the benefits and all access to everything that we put in there. Really cool.
It's really cool, really fun, super easy to join. And you guys don't even have to do that to finish this episode. If you're like, screw it, I don't want to pay any money, I just want to hear the rest of this episode, go to our podcast, High Vibin It, search for it wherever you listen. It's totally free. Either way, enjoy the rest of the show wherever you choose to enjoy it. And we will see you guys next week because we do a new one every week. Adios.
Bye.